So, welcome everyone to another episode of the Tiny Pulpit. I'm your host, Dr. John Betterson, and today we have a special treat. I have two sisters on with me who are going to help share some excellent information on spiritual insights from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So, we have Miss Gail Pullen, who is the founder of Girls Fly, and we have Miss Karla. Karla is also an advisory member of that program, and together they're going to help all of us understand what that looks like, right? And so, without further ado, Miss Gail and Karla, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having us. Go ahead, Karla.
Yes, thank you so much for having us, Dr. Betterson. It's a pleasure to speak to everyone here as far as what does it mean women and as entrepreneurs to bring our faith not just onto our families but onto the world through business. I think it's so important and we're so needed. And I think oftentimes, as Dr. Betterson had mentioned, the last time we've met, we hear of this Proverb 31's woman, and we hear of, all that we're to become and, and everything. But I think God really does have a specific calling, for each one of us. To some of us, he has instilled the mind of entrepreneurship. To others, they don't, and that's okay. And I've come to realize that whatever your calling is, you're a part of the body, right? And we are to together come. Um, one of the things that inspired me to start a business, particularly, I couldn't have done it without the help of Girls Fly, so I'm going to tie that into my story. But it was a statistic. I, as many entrepreneurs, we're very statistical, right? We're like, we run by the numbers. Heard that, the attendance to the church was lowering from the males in comparison to the female counterparts. And that could potentially be a tactic from the enemy to keep men away from the church, men away from the gospel and his word. And in my mind, as I've done many times throughout my life, I said, okay, well, let's bring the church to them. Let's bring the word of God to them through entrepreneurship, because most people that are in business, first started as men. There's a whole history behind that. But I think myself, specifically when I was answering to the calling to start my business, I heard that, that command from God when I was in my early 20s. Like any good old Christian, I ignored it for a long time. And it wasn't after, I was let go of my job where I said, okay, God, I have your attention now. Like, what is it that you want me to do again? And I told them, if this is really your will for me, open the doors, because there's no way I can go back to school, get a master's, try to, start my family, alone all the business acumen that I didn't have, that I learned, so graciously through Girls Fly. And long and behold, he opened door after door after door, including finding a mentor and finding a platform to teach me how to do business. I by trade, I'm a dietitian. I went to school for nutritional biochemistry, so I hold a master's in that. And one of the things that I learned was that, I tend to do really good, um, because of our system, our schooling system, right, really was made to create employees. They weren't to create entrepreneurs, right? So we needed to find like-minded people who would show us the way, right? So long and behold, I prayed for, for an entity or somebody, and I said, God, if you really want you to do this, I need somebody in human life form that I can speak to, about, specifically tangibles. And that's how I came across Miss Gail and Girls Fly. And to say that it has impacted my life, the life of my own mother, the life of my own daughter, as we're speaking, it's an understatement. One of the things that I was able to understand through Girls Fly was the meaning and the ins and outs of financial literacy, right? Through it, not only have we started our financial and generational wealth plan, and that it's so amazing to see, my own family flourish from that. It's a gift that I'm able to give back to my mom for all of the struggles, my family, my dad, for all of the things that they sacrificed to bring us to a better place where we can have more opportunity. But now, as I said, the platform for Miss Cat right here, I told Miss Sylvia to carry the torch of Girls Fly, And I think more than anything, to wrap up at least my section, is that one of the things I was telling Miss Gail is that, um, to me, and I believe this is true for a lot of entrepreneurs, there is no such thing as a business and personal. To every business entrepreneur, their business is personal, right?
Mm.
We set out to solve a problem in the world that, made us mad enough to want to take action, right? So in my case, I feel like there's a lot of work in the enemies that's doing in the fitness and dietetic sector that keeps women in bondage, keeps men in bondage as well, right? But oftentimes utilizes, how we view ourselves as women, how we, utilize food as a coping mechanism, how we misunderstand food and how it uses to literally tear down the family. I can one again in many stories in which, patients and clients of mine have said, hey, my family relationships have better, not just that between my husband and I, between my children and I, because we're not fighting on the table anymore. Right. So it's a whole, I mean, I can go down a rabbit hole, but yeah, I'd say from the financial standpoint, we're needed. We have a calling, and the best way that I feel like we can accomplish it is by, holding hands, tying and holding arms, as I am with Girls Flies. And one of the reasons why it personally it's so important to me, because I feel like we are to disseminate this information to any person, any woman that needs it, because we don't know what calling God has for them. And I think it's our job to water those.
You're amazing, Karla. You're
Yeah.
so amazing. I think that one of the things that's also important to mention, and Karla, thank you for your kind words. And thank you for how you always show up, not only for me in various parts of my life, but actually in the lives of many through this organization called Girls Fly. Hi, everyone. I'm Gail Sylvia Pullen. I'm not only the founder of Girls Fly, which is girlsfly.org. You can find a little bit about us there. Our website's being updated, but you'll see reference to our Girls Fly Europe event that launched last October in Paris, Girls Fly Pakistan, and then our real estate model. You continue to subscribe so you'll get other updates about Girls Fly, because all of it's not reflected there at this time, but we're working on that. I think in the space of women and business and entrepreneurship, you know, for so many of us as Christian women, especially if we're Christian church going women, we've grown up being just reminded repeatedly of two chapters, the Proverbs 31 woman and what she is, and Esther, for such a time as this. We all have heard this, and but there are so many other scriptures that reflect the more of the wholeness of who we are as women. And I think that a part of the opportunity and the freedoms that we've been able to embrace in our society and in our faith has been being able to study and connect with other women like I have with Karla, for a time of exploring more of who we are and what does that mean in this 21st century. What does that mean for me and Karla as a mother who also runs a business, as a spouse, as a sister, and as a friend, and all of these multiple dimensions of who God has created us to be, that surely there must be more in the Bible than just reference to the Proverbs 31 woman and us being here for such a time as this. Not that they're irrelevant, but their relevance must be based on some other foundation that's often not referenced in women's Bible studies and in sermons. So what Karla and I took the time to do was look at the answer to that question. Who are the other examples in the Bible, including the bad girls in the Bible? What can we learn from them that reveal character traits that we want to avoid, that diminish our integrity? If we don't look at and acknowledge that as human beings in this world, especially under the grace of God, that we're still exposed to and susceptible to bad behaviors. we're susceptible to bad influences. And when money is involved, and the more money that there is that's involved, the more susceptible we are. And, and so there are verses in the Bible, such as Psalms 139, verse 14, where it says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and I know that full well. I know that full well because he's taken me through chapters and seasons. Many in recent years, Karla's been able to not only be a witness to, but to actually hold my hand and walk through them with me. And to know that we're fearfully and wonderfully made, I cannot dismiss in our English translation the word fear. And I think that in this space of being entrepreneurs, that fear is a natural response to defining success, defining perseverance, defining steadfastness, defining clarity in our North Star, and knowing what our role is and our purpose is, and this wonderful gift and opportunity to be able to have influence associated with our faith, associated with business. And although Girls Fly is being referenced here as a business example in my life, it is a nonprofit space that was strategically and intentionally designed based off of the Holy Spirit guiding me from within my for-profit businesses, and how we can show up in the marketplace, not only serving our employees as our customers, but teaching them how to be servant leaders and how to do this regardless of what type of business and industry we're in. And so whether it's in the commercial real estate space, which I occupy, or it's in the restaurant space, which I've occupied for about 20 years, with over 5,000 employees in the course of that 20 years, I think the biggest takeaway that I hope will inspire you and encourage you as a woman of faith in business is to ask God to show you where and how you've been fearfully and wonderfully made, and for what purpose you can use your business to not only be profitable, but to actually plant seeds of profitability in other people's lives through your business. So, Dr. Betterson, I'll pause there and see if there's something more. I'm being sensitive to the time, so
No.
I'll
Yeah.
pause there.
No, that's perfect. I'll tell you, Gail and Karla, both of you. Let me just lead with, and I think is Karla still with us? I believe she
She's
is. Yeah,
here.
she's still
Yes,
with us.
she's here.
I
And
just want
Chad.
to say, I want to lead with this. I thought it was beautiful, Karla, for you to show up on this platform, speaking about entrepreneurship and professionalism, and you have your little blessing right there with you in real time.
I
I mean,
do, I do.
that is, I mean, that could have been scripted any better. I mean, that is so perfect. I love it, right? And so that speaks to the breadth, right, and the depth of women in this society, right? Women are, I people talk about multitasking, and they assign multitasking to women a lot of times, and I guess you could be on either side of the argument as to whether or not that's effective or not. But I will say, I have watched my own wife, right, handle multiple tasks and thought processes at the same time, and apparently giving it all the same power and energy. I don't know how, because I, I couldn't do that, but she is so gifted in that way. And I watch a lot of women like yourself, my wife, do just that. My wife often jokes about thinking throughout the day, and she calls it having multiple tabs open, like on a computer, right? On your laptop, you've got like 15 tabs open or more at the same time. And that's my wife, her brain. That's how she works, right? And I see that in a lot of women. So thank you for gracing us with that today, with your talk and your thought process. And then to Miss Gail, I met Gail a few months ago, almost a year now, Gail. I think we've known each other. And I'll tell you, each time we meet, I'm impressed more and more. It's like I unpeel and unpack more about your background and the things you're into. And I will say this, Miss Gail, to you in your business and your cadence and how you present yourself, even in your speech, speaks to just like the season experience, right, of a true entrepreneur and a woman of God, right? You just, you're not, some people are apparently, scattered about a great many things, disorganized all over the place, but you are so measured, and the cadence is just so well kept, and you're easy to follow, and it's impressive. So I do thank both of you for just sharing with us today what that looks like, right, as Christian women in this space. I,
Thank you for having us.
yeah, absolutely,
Thank
absolutely,
you so much for having us.
Yes, thank
definitely.
you,
So
brother.
yeah, so where can people find you guys if they want to connect with you, Gail, and you, Karla? How can they get in touch with you?
Go ahead, Karla.
Yeah, the best way to get through us is through our website at www.virus-wellness.com. You can also find us through any of our social media platforms with the hashtag or Virus Wellness. That's going to be ours. And yes, once again, Dr. Pedersen, thank you so much for having us in here. It's funny because I wanted to show up here as raw as any woman entrepreneur. I mean, it doesn't get any more like, well, hey, let's grab our kids
This
and
is
let's
it.
go.
Let's do it. That's raw. Yes, ma'am. I love it. And I'm excited in advance when this video goes viral because of how raw you and Miss Gail are. I can't wait to let you guys know just how popular this session will be. So thank you for sharing with us today, really.
Just for
And
clarification,
yeah,
Karla, it was a little bit hard to hear you when you were giving out the contact information. I think you should spell it out and repeat it,
yeah.
please.
Yes, it's www. So that's our website. Virus, as in V as in Victor, ERUS -wellness.com. So you can find us there when it says to talk to an expert, it goes directly to my email. So know that I'll be the expert that you guys will be speaking to if you guys reach us out through the website as well as any of the social media platform channels.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah.
And you can find me at a couple of places. If you want to email me, you can email me at gspullen. That's G as in Gail, S as in Sylvia, PULLEN 569@mac.com. And you can learn more about girlsfly.org at girls, plural, fly, one word.org.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, guys. And this ends the session today. I'm gonna hit record, stop recording, and then we can just chop it up and talk after that. So thank you again. I appreciate having you today. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you.